Dot School presents Solving Exponential Equations 3. In this video, we plan to continue talking about solving exponential equations. By now, I'm sure you know that the whole idea is to rewrite both sides of the given equation on the same base so that we can go ahead and see the exponents are also the same, and therefore we can set them equal and solve for the unknown. Let's review a couple of examples. Let's say we have 6 raised to the 4y squared plus 18y plus 20. Remember, all of this is the exponent of the base 6, and that is equal to 1. It doesn't mean the exponent is equal to 1. It means 6 raised to the all of this is equal to 1. So therefore, once again, our first job is to set them on the same base. Now we have a 6 here, we have a 1 here. How can we rewrite 1 as a power of 6? Recall that anything raised to the 0 is always 1, provided that number, the base, is not 0. So we can feel free to rewrite this 1 as 6 raised to the 0. And the moment we have that, so this means 6 raised to the 4y squared plus 18y plus 20, this whole thing being in the exponent, the base on both sides is 6. Therefore, we can go ahead and equate the exponent. We can say this is equal to this. If the bases are equal, so are the exponents. So there we have the exponent equation changes to a quadratic equation. 4y squared plus 18y plus 20 is equal to 0. Before we think about factoring, I noticed that there's a common factor between all these three terms. They're all even numbers. Therefore, I'm going to go ahead and take out a 2, which is a common factor between all three of them. 2 times 2 is 4, so this is going to be 2y squared plus 2 times 9 is 18, 9y plus 2 times 10 is 20. Now when two quantities multiply to give you 0, at least one of them has to be 0. Obviously this is a 2. 2 is not equal to 0. Therefore, in the next step, we can feel free to write 2y squared plus 9y plus 10. That has to be equal to 0. So that we have a 2 times 0 is equal to 0, and that makes perfect sense. And then of course the whole idea is to split this positive 9y into 2 pieces that obviously add up to positive 9y. That's what we have in the problem. And they should multiply to give you 2 times 10, which is 20y squared, and a positive 20y squared. Now how can we get the answer to a multiplication positive? That can only happen if both of them are negative. Now if both of these were to be negative, they will never add up to positive 9y. So the only option is both have to be positive. And in this case, probably you could figure out that it's going to be a 5y and a 4y. 5 times 4 is 20. The positives make the product positive, and they obviously add up to 9y. Perfect. So this is going to be equal to 2y squared plus 5y plus 4y, the 2 adding up to 9y, plus 10 is equal to 0. Time for us to pair them up and factorize. Common factor between 2y squared plus 5y is y. 2y, y times 2y is 2y squared plus 5. Y times 5 is 5y. Plus, common factor between 4y and 10 is 2. 4 and 10 are both even numbers. The 2 times 2 is 4, and we have a y here, plus 2 times 5 is 10. There we go. We have a 2y plus 5 here, 2y plus 5 here. So we can say 2y plus 5 times y plus 2 is equal to 0. I think I'm going to use the space out here. So if two quantities again multiply to give you 0, at least one of them has to be 0. So either we could say either this is a either or case, either 2y plus 5 is equal to 0, which means 2y is equal to negative 5, taking the 5 on the other side, and therefore y is equal to negative 5 seconds. Divide both sides with 2. Or, remember, that's only one of the two cases that could happen, because 2y plus 5 could be 0, or y plus 2 could also be 0. Now if y plus 2 were to be 0, then y has to be negative 2. So there are two answers, two possible answers for y over here. Y could either be negative 5 seconds or y could be negative 2. Let's try another one. Let's say we have 9 raised to the 6x square minus 25x. Remember, all of that is an exponent and I'm not done as yet. Minus 44 is equal to 1 on the other side. Now obviously the first step is to have the same base on both sides. We see a 1 here, we see a 9 here. We are going to apply the same technique, that anything raised to the 0 is 1, as long as that anything is not 0 itself. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite this. Because we have a 9 here, we're going to write 1 as 9 raised to the 0. And this is going to be equal to 9 raised to the 6x square minus 25x minus 44. And because now we have the same base on both sides, 9, we can go ahead and say that this one must be equal to this one. The two exponents have to be equal, which turns the exponential equation to a quadratic equation. 6x squared minus 25x minus 44 is equal to 0. Probably you know by now that we need to split this negative 25x up into two pieces that obviously have to add up to negative 25x, and the product has to be 6 times negative 44. Now 6 is a positive number, negative 44 is a negative number, which means the product of these two numbers, whatever we have over here, they have to be a negative quantity. Now when is the product of two quantities negative? Obviously when they're of opposite sides. So one has to be a negative, the other one has to be a positive, and also the numerical value of the negative side has to be more, because after all this is a negative 25. So you're adding minus something and plus something, and you're getting a negative 25. So a few things to think about from your side. It isn't just about wild guessing. Now if you look at the factors of 6, 6 is a 3 times 2. So we have a 3, we have a 2, and 44 is 11 and a 2 and a 2. So you want to try the different combinations of these, multiply them so that you have two numbers that fit into this equation. In this case, I guess we could multiply 3 with 11, and that gives us 33. And if you multiply the 3 2's together, you get an 8. Obviously the negative number has to be more, so I'm going to go ahead and write a 33x here and a positive 8x here. Minus 33 plus 8 is minus 25. We got that. And then obviously because we use the factors of 6 and 44, the product has to be the same as 6 times 44. And it's negative because one of them is negative and the other one is positive. So we're going to go ahead and write 6x squared minus 33x plus 8x minus 44 is equal to 0. Factorize the first two. So common factor between 6x squared and negative 33x, there's a 3 obviously on both of them, and there's a x. So 3x is the common factor. Open parentheses, close parentheses, a minus between them. Because this is a positive, it's going to be the same sign. And 3x times 2x is going to give us 6x squared, and 3x times 11 is 33x. So we have a 2x minus 11 on this one, plus, now you can think about the common factor between 8x and negative 44, but keep in mind that probably makes life a little easier for you, that you have to have a 2x minus 11 inside the parentheses. If you're having these two quantities different, that means in the next step you're not going to be able to factor this out, so you must have gone wrong somewhere. If you have done it right, this and this has to be the same, so that in the next step you could take this out as a common factor, 2x minus 11. In this case, obviously we have done it right, because the common factor between 8x and 44 is 4. If you take a 4 out here, 4 times 2x is 8x and 4 times 11 is 44 with a negative sign. So we got 2x minus 11 times 3x plus 4 is equal to 0. So there you go, the either or situation arises. Either this is 0, either, and this is for the r, either 2x minus 11 is 0, which means you take the 11 on the other side, you have 2x is equal to 11, divide both sides with 2, you get x is equal to 11 seconds, or 5.5. And in the r side, we have 3x plus 4 is equal to 0. You take the 4 on the other side, it becomes a negative 4, and divide both sides with 3. So you have x is equal to negative 4/3. So these are the two possible values of x that would fit into this exponent out here at the top.